Star Wars Rebellion. This is your review for 2. Good day, my name is Joe Gerba. Today I'll be going over Star Wars Rebellion and how it plays with 2 players. Now Star Wars Rebellion is a 2 or 4 player game, though in my opinion this game needs to just be played with 2. It's a great 2-player asymmetrical game. One side takes control of the Galactic Empire, the Darth Vader, the Emperor Palpatine, to take over the galaxy and to find the Rebel base. And the other player will be taking over the Rebel Alliance, Leia, Han, and Luke Skywalker, to try to elude the Empire. And if they can elude for long enough, they win the game. And if the Empire finds the Rebel base and destroys everyone on the ground at the Rebel base, they win the game. Now I'll see a little bit more how to play. So in this game, the board will be pretty sparsely populated with Rebel troops. There'll be some Empire troops more abundant around, and the goal in this game, like I said, for the Empire is to sprawl out and find that Rebel base. So on your turn, you can do a couple actions. You have a hero pool of 4. You'll be able to put one of your heroes down to move to that system from an adjacent system is an action. You can also, during the course of the gameplay, you have these missions that you can perform. Be able to place someone there, perform this mission, roll some dice. The opponent can place some of their heroes to oppose the missions, and it's kind of a back and forth. Do you want to keep moving with some of your heroes? You start off with 4. And then, or do you want to start to play your missions, try to, upgrade, do some, subverting if you're the rebels, try to, maneuver and sprawl if you're the Empire. This game is very thematic. There's a ton of things to do. As you're drawing cards, you feel like it's an overwhelming amount of things that can be done. Play missions, play projects as the Empire sprawl out, attack, and if two forces collide, there'll be a little battle. The players will play a couple cards depending on what general they have in there, and it kind of goes back and forth. There's just a ton of things to do on each turn. I know it feels, my review right now kind of feels a little sporadic. It's because there's so much to do. There's so much going on in this game, but that's what makes it fun. It feels like a sprawling game of just, using missions, sending your leaders out, having the opponent try to, subvert you, try to stop you in your tracks, fighting the opponent, having an epic space battle where you really need to hold a certain planet or system. It's a lot of great fun, and there's a ton of things to do. And without going too much further, let me go into my thoughts about the game. So the components in this game are vast. There's a ton of components. There's a ton of little miniatures. There's a ton of little leader cards. You get 2 huge boards. This game takes up just about a full 6x3. There's no getting around it. It takes up a lot of space. You cannot fit this on a 3x3. You need to sprawl out. You'll have a lot more fun that way. And it's just, there's just so much stuff in this game. There's so many cards, and for a beginner, this can be very overwhelming. However, the rules that Fantasy Flight put out just explain everything so well. They go through steps of your turn. They go through, everything is very well worded on a lot of these cards. There's a lot of, picture references. Everything is labeled. The dice are very well laid out. The rules in this game are just fantastically laid out. And it's just, they give you so much game in this box. It is legitimately overwhelming. Now let's go straight into the gameplay. You know me in a two-player game. I love having choices, and you have a ton of choices with your leaders. You know, you have to plan at the beginning of your turn which missions you're going to send certain leaders on. You can double up if you really need to get a certain mission done. Each side plays very differently. The Empire's really trying to beef up. They get so many miniatures on the board, and it's just, you really feel like that overwhelming dread on the opponent. And the Rebel Alliance is really trying to elude. They're trying to, play these cards to kind of subvert. They're trying to accomplish their missions. They can do certain actions. They have certain goals. They can blow up the Death Star to hopefully shorten the game. There's so many things in this game. I really almost can't explain the gameplay without doing a full either gameplay video or just a straight up playthrough. There's so much in this game, but let me just tell you, everything feels great. It feels fun. It's fast. When I'm ready to go, I put my leader, I'm saying I'm going to move. It's fun just to push all your miniatures into the opponent's system, into the opponent's planet, and just have an epic brawl. It may not be for much. The Rebel may be just clinging on, and as the Empire, you're just there to crush them, find that Rebel base. Like I said, this game just has it all. It's very thematic. Someone called it Ameritrash, which means kind of when you draw a card, you don't really have too much choice. Your deck's kind of set to begin with, so whatever you draw you can kind of use, and it's a little bit more thematic than a normal straightforward Euro game where you're just really collecting cubes. There's so many variables in this game that it just makes it a fun game, and there's just so much to do. There's so much to think about. When you control a system, you get more troops. These troops go in a little queue onto the side, and as the turns go on, you start to move that queue down, get your troops on the board, the other person, so you can see what they're gonna have coming out. You can see what you're gonna have coming out. It's just, like I said, it's an overwhelming amount of things in the game, but everything is explained perfectly in this game. It will take you a little bit on that first game to really find out exactly what you're going to be gunning for. The difficulty on that first game is a little bit high, but really every game gets easier. And that's the truth about most board games. But this one's really, especially if you're playing with someone new and they're also new, it can really slow down for a while. This game will take a good 3 hours. 2 hours if you're playing very quickly, but 3 hours just to maneuver. It's only 14 turns, which doesn't seem like much, and it can either, if the Rebels do some of their missions, it can be a shorter game, and if the Empire does a few of theirs, it can be a little bit longer game, but not by much. You really only have those 14, turns to win the game. So it's pretty bound. It can't be one of those games that last 8 hours, and it's definitely not going to be a quick game unless the Rebels didn't do the best job of hiding their base. So it's definitely difficult, but to get back to the table, I would say once you've played a few times, once you got the hang of it, this is much easier to get back to the table. Just that first game is a pretty steep learning curve. Let's talk about the replayability. The replayability in this, I think, is pretty high. It's not something you want to play for a week straight, once a day, but it's something you can play for a weekend. You can play 4 games in a weekend, have a good time. And what's fun is it's asymmetrical. What do you do when you're a little bit stale on one side? You switch to the other side, and your partner comes and plays what you were playing, and There's so many cards. There's so many cards of which leaders you can get. There's a couple starting cards. There's a ton of projects. There's so much random. They've added so much extra stuff into this box where every game does not play the exact same. Let's go into luck versus strategy. This game is highly strategic. There is a little bit of luck because there's always dice. One of the main sources of luck is just, do you succeed in a mission? And you may look back a few turns to be like, that mission was super critical. I'm, pretty upset that I didn't get that, all just because of a couple dice. That's the name of the game. That's why we roll dice, for a little bit of luck added to the game. Same thing with the battles. When you're rolling all these dice and getting re-rolls from the leaders and playing these different cards, a lot of different things can unfold and happen. But in the end, you got to realize it's just a game about rolling some dice and kind of an epic adventure. So there is a decent amount of luck in this game, but there's still a lot of strategy. And I think this game strikes a great balance between the two. So one thing I don't always discuss are add-ons and expansions. The Rise of the Empire, to me, is an essential expansion to this game. It really streamlines how they did combat. It used to really drag on. Now there's a lot more fighting, a lot more head-to-head, and a lot more stuff just disappearing. It used to be a little bit humdrum, a little bit, the same thing over and over, and you had that one ship left you couldn't kill. Now it's really in your face. They add extra leaders, extra cards, extra variability, extra replayability. I don't always like expansions because I think it adds more rules to remember. In this, it just adds more breadth. It adds a couple extra units, but those units are very well explained. They're all right there for both sides. Adds extra leaders. I really like the Rise of the Empire expansion for this game. So is this game good for two? As you can tell, if you've made it this far, this is one of my favorite games. I don't know if it's my favorite game, but it's really high up there for two players. It's asymmetrical, there's luck, there's dice rolling, there's moving miniatures around, there's enough strategy where you're really thinking the whole time, there's enough, what's going to come next, how can I mitigate some of this luck. And it's just, some of the battles are very thematic and epic, especially, nearing the end of the game where you found the rebel base as the Empire, but do you have enough to take it over? Or as the rebel, can you hold on enough where kind of block the Empire, just a couple more turns from reaching your rebel base? There's a ton going on in this game. I like how easy it is to get back to the table. I like, the look of the game. There's so much to like about this game. The rules aren't very fiddly at all. There may be some rules you have to look up, but for the most part, it's straightforward. Once you've played a game, you can play another game right back to back, play a lot faster, a lot more streamlined, you know what you're doing. This is just one of those games that's very thematic, that plays fantastically with two, about a 2 or 3 hour experience in a box, and just scratches all those itches you want in a Star Wars game. They have these rings that you can put around your leaders, and it just makes it more thematic. They can get captured. R2-D2 can come. The Millennium Falcon can swoop in. There's just the theme is oozing in this game. The strategy is there. The luck is there, and the choices are just immense. And there's not enough good things I can say about this game. As a negative, it may take up a lot of table space, but overall, Star Wars Rebellion is a fantastic, lovely two-player game. So that's my review of Star Wars Rebellion, and until next time.